Used to be a time when budget trucks meant low quality. Those times are fortunately over.
Hooray! Hooray for everything!
Thanks for watching. Today we're taking a look at the Maverick Quantum 2 Flux. There's two different versions of this truck. There is a brushed version and there is a brushless version. If you don't give a Flux, then you will have the brushed version, which comes in a tiny bit cheaper. And if you have a lot of Flux to give, then you should get the brushless version, which is the one that I have over here. This Quantum 2 Flux is a really nice looking truck. This is a daughter company from HPI Racing. HPI, of course, kind of like resurrected under new Danish ownership a couple of years ago. Fortunately, because, you know, also this Maverick, it's just a really welcome addition, I think, especially for people new into the hobby who want to get their feet wet and experience what it is like to have some fun with the RC. This is a 10 scale truck. This is marketed as like a monster truck. It's like a basher. So this would be a competitor to, for example, Traxxas Stampede, to Arma Granite, those type of trucks. Really budget friendly, and with that as well, we're going to have a look at how they achieve that. This is something that, this is not just revamped, rebranded, anything like that. This is actually a full new design. So this was designed in-house, completely bespoke, all new materials, or 95% new materials, and just a lot of cool stuff to look at. I will perhaps at times just cross-reference the box just because it has a ton of information. But apart from that, we're not going to bother with the box all that much, just because I don't think it is super interesting. It's more interesting to look at the truck itself and see what we have over here. Boring things first, it comes with a not super elaborate manual, but if you want to just have some parts numbers, or if you have never had an RC before, because this is a truck that is for people who have never had an RC before, there are some very valuable warnings inside of this booklet. I can imagine it saying stuff like, this is not intended for a 3-year-old, do not eat the batteries, don't set stuff on fire, if it starts smoking, run away from it. You know, basically all of this basic knowledge that we all already have is inside of this booklet. Another thing which is perhaps not super interesting is the radio. Very basic looking radio, takes 4 AA batteries that you shove in the bottom. They do not come included with the truck. All of your trim switches are on the top, and then foam wheel. It has like a bit of a carbon fiber-esque look on the outside. Very basic. I guess it will do the job. 2.4 gigahertz, so you're not messing around with like a big antenna poking each other's eyes out when you have friends, for example, that you're running with. Yeah, so that's included. And then, of course, there is the truck itself. Now, like I said, there is a brushed version, or there is a brushless version. There is quite a bit of a price difference between them. If you are in the UK, for example, the price of the brushed version is £180, and then for this one, for the Flux, you buy it for 250, which means for European people, 210 euros for the brushed version, and approximately 290 euros, depending where you are with VAT and all that, for the brushless version. I think you can roughly translate that to the same amounts for $1. So what do you get for that money? You get, I think, a very good looking truck. This body shell looks fantastic. The wheels look good. It feels all very plush, but we will get into all of the details in a bit. This is a body shell that is not done up in PVC like some of the previous Maverick bodies that you perhaps have experience with. This is a polycarbonate shell, so this should really hold up to a beating. And I think it also looks cleaner. Polycarbonate usually comes out way cleaner when they pull it from the shape than PVC does. And you just have a really nicely shaped, but also a nicely colored body with this Maverick Quantum 2 Flux body. It is, of course, one solid color on the inside because they didn't bother painting this custom for you, so they just dip this, or however they do it, screen print it on there. But there are some cool colors going on. So there's like some red metallic. There's almost like a camo look going on over the outside. And I like the way that that turned out. While we have the body off, you can also immediately see that it has tethered body clips, so you're not at risk of losing these out in the field. You will also see that there are some HPI logos on those body clips, so you know what type of brand you are dealing with. Despite it being called Maverick, there's a lot of HPI DNA going on in this truck. And you can definitely tell that from the threads on these tires. These tires by accident are also called threads, so that's kind of like a pun for those in the know, I guess. You see over here that hexagon is then of course the HPI logo, if you're familiar with that brand, and you see that kind of stamped in some places. What you also see on that fully redesigned chassis, and then also, for example, on those tie rods, is the Maverick logo. So this truck is a complete ground up new design for the Maverick brand. This is also one of their biggest investments in tooling in more recent years. So they have a lot of stuff riding actually on this new Quantum 2 truck. I think also for that reason it is interesting to give it a really fair chance and to see where it sits in the grand scope of the market. I do have some experience as well, for example, with the Armor Granite, which is a really cool basher, but I think that this absolutely deserves its place in the market as well. If you would have the brushed version, you do not get this reinforced spine that sits between the front and the rear bulkhead. So you would have to do without that. Seeing that this one comes with the brushless setup that will take some more abuse, you do get that reinforcement. And I think it looks cool. It's almost like a copper bronze colored anodization also going on in the shocks, and I think it ties everything together nicely. The plastic quality as well throughout this entire truck is higher than what you are perhaps used to from the Maverick brand. On the inside as well, there's a lot of upgraded materials going on. So you do find right now stock from the get-go, you find the HD material in all of your metal components, so in all of your gears. And also the pinion is now a 1.25 mod tooth size. So that gives you a tiny bit of an idea, I guess, on how serious they are about making this thing handle more power. In the back you will find a conventional metal dog bone setup, while in the front you can see that there is actually a CVD joint set up right out of the factory, which is of course a lot stronger and a lot more resilient than that dog bone that you would otherwise perhaps also find in the front. The shocks feel nice and plush. The suspension is a lot softer than what you are perhaps familiar with from some of the previous models. They also got rid of the pillow ball suspension that you used to find in the back of some of the Maverick models, and right now instead you find a single piece rear hub. I really like the way that this suspension feels. All of the seals have been upgraded, so you don't have to worry about any leaking shocks. They are of course plastic bodied shocks, but they do have a couple of aluminum components to them just to make them look and feel a bit more high-end. Speaking of high-end, this brushless setup is definitely looking very good. I like the look of that brushless motor. This is a 3500 kV motor that is then coupled to a waterproof 80 amp ESC. In the center of that there is a sealed receiver box that you can open by pulling out a body clip, and then you can have a look on the inside. There is also an antenna tube included in case you want to protect this antenna a tiny bit. Big servo saver in the front to make sure that you can protect your 16 kilogram metal gear steering servo that is included from the factory, which is nothing earth-shattering, but it is also not anything that is too puny for a truck that in itself is definitely not heavy and or big. So I think it will stand up to the task of it being able to move this truck around. There is even a full light kit included. So there is a light in the front and there's also an LED bar in the back. I'm not sure how those will hold up against some abuse, but I guess we will find that out. There's also a wheeling bar included that you can then angle to your liking. I think we're going to leave it at this. So even if you cannot put all of this power to the ground, you can still put it to the ground by using the wheelie bar, or at least until you run out of traction, I guess. Really nice bottom as well. This is, I think, a very familiar looking shape by now, with the center of the chassis being a tiny bit higher than the front and the rear bulkhead. Makes for a really nice flat layout in the driveline, and also a truck that behaves very, very predictable. Another thing that I should mention is the hinge pin retainers in the front and in the back. Those are actually reinforced with some aluminum bits. Despite it not being visible, that is included, and it will make your truck a lot stronger. You cannot adjust, of course, any of the tie rods. You can't adjust the steering rods. It is all set from the factory. But just looking at the way that the wheels point and the way that everything is directed, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. An XT60 battery connector to wire everything up and hook everything up and make sure that it functions, and you are all set and good to go. It is very snowy over here. The weather is actually completely crappy, and it has been for the past couple of weeks, but do not despair. We will take this thing out for a spin. So take one last good look at the way it sits right now. I will also make sure that I will take a picture for the thumbnail before I'm going to take it out in the snow and most likely ruin it. Well, there you have it, the all-new Maverick Quantum 2 Flux monster truck. Links to this one, the brushless version, and also to the brushed version will be in the video description box. By the time you see this video, this is officially launched. I'm one of the first ones to have one. Big thank you to HBI and to Maverick for sending this out for me to check out for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section. If you're wondering about anything, it will be in the video description box. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, and if you want to see more RC stuff and you want to be kept up to speed with what I'm doing over here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It is free. Take care, bye-bye.
We're back on.